All right, so foil breakdown. The thing about the foils is there is a lot going on. There's a bunch of different pieces. How does each piece change how the foil feels and the foil's performance? So I'm gonna get into a little bit of that today. First thing to know is that front wing is the most important piece. Everything else is you're just essentially pairing with the front wing. So when you're looking at foils, foil shopping, you'll see a number, right? Every foil has a number. That is just talking about the surface area, so centimeters squared. So like this guy right here is an MA 990 from Armstrong, so it's 990 centimeters squared. Now, the other thing to note is there's different sizes of front wings, but there's also different aspect ratios. And what the aspect ratio is leading edge to trailing edge, which we call our chord length, in relation to the wingspan. So this has a shorter chord length with a pretty decent sized wingspan. So we would call this a higher aspect ratio wing. Now it's an MA 990, so that means mid aspect. But for this conversation, this is going to be on the higher side of aspect ratio, where in relation to it, we have this Mike Murphy 900 wing, and this is a very low aspect ratio wing. Really like the lowest I've ever personally held in my hands and seen. And again, it's because the relationship of the chord length, leading edge to trailing edge, in relation to the wingspan. So this thing, the chord length is almost the length of the wingspan, so it's extremely low aspect ratio if you hold them next to each other. They're very similar in surface area, 900, 990, but they are two completely different wings. Now, a higher aspect wing is going to be harder to ride. It has more performance benefits for the most part, but harder to ride. And it's harder to ride because every movement you make, it wants to react really fast. Think about more like your van or your truck versus your Ferrari. The other thing with a higher aspect wing is it's harder to ride, but the benefits are there's a lot more glide. Say you're foiling behind the boat and you're gaining some speed to go from one wave to the other or to do a big turn. This is going to glide you further out and pick up more speed when you're just cruising, carving around. They also, generally speaking, pump better. They're just more efficient. When you pump, you're going to gain more speed, you're going to glide for longer. And then turning, because it's just more reactive, you can really get this thing on an angle and feel like the centrifugal force when you're turning with a higher aspect wing. But the lower aspect wing is still great for behind the boat and very easy to learn on. The other thing is you have to be at a certain speed for a foil wing to catch and take flight, and you have better low speed foiling with a low aspect foil. So again, when learning, a low aspect is going to be way easier. It's also not going to be as pitchy. So with a higher aspect wing, you let up on it, it wants to jump on you. You go down with it, it wants to dive down on you. This is going to be a little bit more consistent lift because the learning curve with foiling is dealing with the lift. If you come from wake surfing or wakeboarding, you're just hanging back until you actually want to get in the wave. But with the foil, because the wings are on angles, when you're getting up, it wants to lift you up out of the water. So you counteract that by putting more weight on your front foot. So something that's going to lift you up faster, quicker, be more reactive is just harder to learn on. So that's kind of the front wing deal. I'll also say that a bigger front wing in general, you're gonna lose turn initiation, but generally speaking, it will be better for pumping for a long period of time. Smaller wing, gonna lose some ability to pump, but maneuverability and carving is so much fun on a smaller wing. And then there's your weight. So I would say, how do you choose the size of your front wing? It's how much do you weigh, and then what do you want to use it for? Because if you want to use it like first and second wave and you want to carve around, you want to do air tricks, you're probably going to ride a smaller wing. If you want to go 10 waves back behind the boat, you want to pump around, you want to cruise, you're probably going to go towards a larger wing. And then you get into the fuselage, which is the piece that connects the front and back wing. Longer fuselage, more stable, a little bit more consistent pumping. Shorter fuselage, it's just going to be able to have much more turn initiation, much tighter turn radius. Mast and overall setup, is it carbon or is it aluminum? Carbon is going to be stiffer, it's going to be lighter. If you're taking it in the ocean, you'll pretty much have to go with a carbon, but the carbon is more expensive. An aluminum, it's going to bend a little bit more, it's going to be a little heavier, but it's a better price point. And then back wing, bigger back wing, more stability, smaller back wing, more maneuverability. And then board, I think starting with a larger board makes it a whole lot easier. I think the sweet spot for behind the boat specifically is around 4 feet, maybe just under 4 feet, up to about 4'5". That's a really good range for the foil board. And again, I would probably start with a little bit larger foil board as far as surface area, but maybe a little bit smaller as far as volume. That's going to be the easiest. So let's talk about this fuse lock foil. So this Horizon series is a low aspect front wing, 1550. It's actually basically the foil I learned how to foil on and really get comfortable out there. And then it's got a 150 tail wing. It's got a full carbon, I believe it's 28 or 29 inch mast, which is money. You kind of want to be around that 28-ish behind the boat. And then you've got your launch foil board that's a nice big size, but lower volume. So like this right here, Horizon 1550 carbon with the launch foil board would be a really good place to start. So that's just kind of a rough breakdown of what to look for foils. What the heck does aspect ratio mean? What does 990 mean when you see it on a foil wing? That's just related to size. And then all the other pieces that go along with it. So if you have any questions, leave a comment, shoot us a message, give us a call, come by the shop. We're here to help. Have a good one. You.